Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
We are back. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast, live from Benchmark International Arena. It is the opening day, the opening night for our Tampa Bay Lightning as they take on the Ottawa Senators tonight, right here at the arena. Hopefully you'll be in the building as I am right now. Kind of switched it around. Last year I was flipped and I had the arena in front of me. Now I'm going to have the arena behind me. I know the lighting could be a little wonky, but I want you guys to see what the heck's going on behind me out here. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Couldn't do this without you guys. What a show we have for you today. So, first off, we are going to hear from head coach John Cooper and Victor Hedman. We got a lot more interviews later on in the program. We'll hear from Gage Gonsalves. We'll also hear from Eric Chernak. We'll also hear from Yanni Gord. Those are exclusive one-on-ones with me right here on the Recher podcast. You're not going to be able to hear that anywhere else. So we'll talk to Hedman and Coop here in a little bit. Of course, we have our Evara Health Injury Report at 12:30 with our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. What is this now we're hearing about Luke Gedeke and his foot injury? We'll get into that momentarily. We'll also talk about Jamel Dean. We'll talk about all the other big injuries across the National Football League. 1:30 today. Our pal, Eddie Encina, Eddie in the Yard, will join us from the Tampa Bay Times to talk all things Tampa Bay Lightning ahead of the season opener tonight right here at Benchmark International Arena against the Ottawa Senators. Don't forget, Saturday, our first ever Sticks and Stools broadcast. John Senning won't be able to be there, but it'll be Danielle McBroom and I outside of the plaza right here at the bench. Come check us out. If you got tickets to the show on Saturday, come see us, come by and say hello. We'll definitely be very interactive there with the fans for Sticks and Stools. Lady Evil, what a great background. I think T-Kraz is doing a show from Benchmark today as well. Yes, he is, starting live at 3 p.m. on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Our good pal Tom Krasnicki, he's got a slew of Lightning guests joining him on the program today, including myself. I'll be over there either early in the show, later on in the show. I'll be on WDAE at some point today talking hockey, talking some football with my guy Tom Krasnicki, T-Kraz. So make sure you check him out as well. Obviously, I want to mention this real quick. Almost coming to a year from when I got let go at WDAE and iHeartMedia. We're starting to see some cuts again from iHeart. Two of the people that got cut from 93.3 FLZ, Katie Summers, who did so many great things in our community with adopting pets and just one of the greatest personalities, I think, in our area, was let go. And then also Sarah Jacobs from US 103.5, our country station here. And it's just kind of the nature of the beast, man. It's an unfortunate aspect of our business, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention those two wonderful ladies that were colleagues that became friends. And, I was in their shoes less than 12 months ago. So, really puts things in perspective. And it also just reminds me how grateful I am of everybody that supports me here on the Recher podcast, because you can go in a lot of different directions after you get let go from a job that you've been doing for so long. And the fact that I just stayed with it, and I've had the support from the majority of the teams here in the Tampa Bay area and a lot of you guys here, the Jaybirds, it doesn't get lost on me. And as big as this thing gets, I just want you guys all to know that I'm here, I'm ready to roll, and I ain't slowing down. I want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. If you guys want to chime in via the video call, easy for me to say, here is the link right there in the chat. Put it really quick for you. Look at all these texts already. StreamYard.com/CYEPNF733F. If you guys want to get in on the conversation, you can do that as well. Let's get to some of those comments before we talk some Lightning hockey. Jaybird, I'm a little worried about Vazzy when I heard that we're carrying 3 goalies. I hope he's okay. Listen, I'm not going to worry about it, DT, until we hear something significant. Right now, what Julian Brisebois has done with this team is he's given them so much more flexibility when it comes to the salary cap that this team hasn't had the last couple of years. So if you want to have a contingency plan, right, you want to have a third goalie or you want to have a couple extra wingers, you can do that. Last couple of years, you kind of knew what was going to happen, and we've seen it a couple of years ago on the West Coast where they had to play with less than 6 defensemen. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Appreciate the kind words, my friend. Dolan in the house. Eric will get to that a little bit later on. Dolan, Jay Gatto 305. Appreciate you guys as well. Hey, Carlos joining in. Carlos, I'll get to you in 1 second, buddy. Not going to lie, I'm thinking of putting the Lightning in my Hard Rock. Yeah, buddy. Why not? Carlos Sharita, LFG Bolts. Look at the We the Thunder. Make sure you check out those guys on the We the Thunder podcast. I saw they had the lovely Sonia Bryson Kirksey on yesterday or last night. Really, really good stuff. Can't wait to get to the bench or the mark tonight. Going to be good stuff as well. Bolts could win tonight, but still Cats in 5. Sorry, Jay. Got love for you, brother. Appreciate you. Bart Hill, what color are the shoes today? All right. I'll show you guys later at the end of the show. Let's bring in Carlos. Carlos, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Jay, I'm well. I'm taking my lunch break, checking my Twitter notifications. I saw you're live as always at 12 p.m. So I had to come in here and make sure the Rowdies' interests are represented.
Yes.
Plugging the game this Saturday.
Sweet.
ESPN Plus, I think.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Carlos, there's 3 games left, right? And I've been doing the math the last couple of weeks with the Rowdies.
Yeah.
Man, it'd be nice. I mean, they're kind of flying under the radar. It's just been such an up and down season for them, brother, right? I mean, it'd be nice if they could just finish the season on a high note. They need to string some wins together, but if they get into the playoffs, as well as you know as well as I do, last year, all the teams that were the lower seeded were winning. So, I mean, if they can get in, they've got a chance, don't they?
Phoenix, I mean, I don't know how many people are super tapped into the world of USL, but there was the super Phoenix Rising. They were like the last place team to sneak in, and they won the whole thing. So
right.
You never really know. I mean, they need to win this Saturday. If they lose, they're done. There's no shot at the playoffs. A draw and things get a little complicated, but a win and they're right in the mix, Jay. So we'll see.
Got it. Carlos, you got it, man. Thank you for the support, Carlos. Have a great week.
Have a good one, Jay. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, buddy. Always appreciate the calls in about a little bit of everything here on the program on the Jay Recher podcast. That is how we roll, baby. Thank you, Carlos. Go Rowdies. Rowdysoccer.com for all the information out there with our Rowdies. Come on, you Rowdies. We're supporting you guys every single day. Jay Gatto, anyone know what the lines are for the game? Haven't checked it yet myself. We're going to get to that right here. I want to show you guys here on the program. And we'll show you via courtesy of our good friend Eric Erlinson, lightninginsider.com. Here we go. I want to share it just so you guys can watch it as well or see it as well. All right, here we go. So the lines for tonight, according to Double E, Eric Erlinson, not much of a surprise, guys. If you look at it there on line 1, Jake Gensel on the left. You've got Braden Point in the middle with Nikita Kucherov on right wing. Brandon Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, and Gage Gonsalves will be your second line. I got a chance to talk to Gage after morning skate today. This is his first opening night with the team, which is really cool. And I asked him about playing with Hagel and Cirelli, and he's almost like, I just try not to mess it up. But it's a big opportunity for him to be able to step up and to be able to prove that he's going to play with, one of the best duos in the National Hockey League. And I'm not just saying that because we talk about the Lightning a lot. I mean, just look at the Four Nations. Nobody really blinked an eye when they were brought onto the team, and they helped them win a gold in the Four Nations. Line 3, Yanni Gourde, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Mitchell Chaffee. We know that Gordo and Bjorkstrand, they're going to try to keep those guys together. I spoke to Yanni a little bit earlier today. We'll hear from him later on in the program. And then there you go. Douglas, Holmberg, and Geeky, some fresh faces there. I mean, when you look at Pontus Holmberg, this is a guy, if you remember, last couple of years, one of those hardworking bottom 6 guys for the Toronto Blue Jays. So, you kind of look at him and all right, let's see what you got, because you need some grinders. You need some guys that are going to be difficult to play against. That's something that the Tampa Bay Lightning teams, when they won those Stanley Cups, hard to play against. I remember Pat Maroon saying it over and over and over again. Great to see Pat Maroon today, part of the broadcast, of course, with Scripps and the Tampa Bay Lightning TV side. He's all over the place. Saw him and Coburn walking around. Ricky couldn't get online before. I was trying to help him out. Just really good stuff. Curtis Douglas is going to make his NHL debut tonight. You'll be able to see him from the rafters because he's so freaking big. That dude is huge. I like that fourth line, man, because you have Connor Geekie on the right side. We know the offensive potential he's got, but he's not a small guy. Carter Douglas is huge, 6'9", and then Holmberg is an absolute grinder. Andre Vasilevsky will get the start in net tonight. No surprise there. And with J.J. Moser serving game 1 of his 2-game suspension, you're going to see Hedman and Radish, McDonough and Chernak, no surprise there, and Lilleberg and Crozier. So the lines, not really, when you're looking at it, not much of a surprise. But when you're looking at what can happen tonight, you got to munch points. And that's something that I asked Victor Hedman, and I want you guys to be able to hear. Hetty was the first person we spoke with today. When he steps onto the ice tonight, will be the first Lightning player to suit up for 17 seasons. 17 seasons with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Stammer had 16. Hetty, 17 seasons. Unbelievable. What an accomplishment from our guy, Victor Hedman. Just such a great dude. And he was the first person we actually spoke to today. So here's what the captain had to say earlier today about season 17 and then about opening night tonight with the Bolts.
17?
Yeah.
For you? Does it ever get old?
No, it doesn't. It's just grateful for the career so far. But year 17, and still get butterflies and grateful for me.
Eddie, you're the first guy for 17 seasons with the Lightning. Did you know that? And what does that mean to you?
Oh, it means the world. Like you said, so many good players in this organization, and be still here. It means a lot. So just gonna embrace this moment and really go out there tonight and play our hearts out.
What does opening night mean for you? I mean, it's butterflies. I mean, you can say the 17th one over, which hasn't special.
No, it's just all the build up throughout camp, and finally we're at opening night, and camp is over, and the fun will start. So for us, it's an opportunity to make the most of it, and to start at home it's always special. So we're excited to get things going.
Eddie, Coop always talks about this time of season munching points, right? Because we know how long the season is. How important is it to have a fast start for you guys this season?
No, it's huge, and this means just as much as game 82. So we got to start munching points right away, and playing against a team that was really good last year. Obviously made it to the postseason. So we're gonna have our hands full, but we're excited about it.
What's it like when you get out there on the blue carpet and you see all the fans outside and the pomp and circumstance that goes around opening night?
No, it's awesome, and so many people show up and just greet us before the game. So it's always special. So, but we got to make sure that we focus on the game, and all of that is always all fun. But at the end of the day, I think in everyone's mind in here, it's about 7 o'clock and get things rolling.
And what are you most excited about playing alongside this group, and what you guys can possibly do this season?
No, we have with the talent that we have, and the group that we have, the camaraderie that we have. We're excited to go to battle together. So, like I said, it was a good preseason. Winning 6 games out of the 7. So for us, we just got to make sure that we have that mentality going into tonight. Is that no matter what, we do whatever it takes to get those 2 points.
Just doesn't get better than Victor Hedman. Like, he's just the best, bro. He is the man. We're just so lucky. Again, I mentioned a lot when we're talking about Victor Hedman. Let's not take him for granted. Let's not take him for 17 years, bro. Holy smokes. Next year, his career is going to be able to vote. Just think about it, man. We're so lucky. And somebody said, they asked me a question the other day about Victor Hedman and his status in the league. And I go, okay, maybe he's not a top 3 defenseman anymore, but he's no worse than 7th or 8th. I mean, the guy's incredible. And what he brings off the ice, I mean, think about it, guys. When you lose a guy like Steven Stamkos, who's such an incredible leader and such an incredible captain and a guy that's meant so much to not just this team and this community, I mean, there's really nobody else that you would rather turn the mantle over to than to Victor Hedman. I mean, it's his best friend, and it sucks that Stammer obviously is not here anymore, but Hetty being here, it's just it's awesome, man. And he's just such a good dude. He's got such a disposition. He speaks after wins. He speaks after losses. 17 years. He is a big dude. I saw Lady Evil. Holy, is a tall human being. He's a big boy. And just he's a pro. He's a pro's pro. And you'll hear from John Cooper. I asked John Cooper about the accomplishment of him, year 17, Ryan McDonough, year 16. And to be able to have these guys as leaders, not just on our hockey team, but in our community, it's incredible. And you have multiple guys like that. It's not just one. And you're talking about a good hockey team, not a bad hockey team. And he's not just good because he's an older guy. Like, he's good because he's still a good player. I'm really jacked up about this Lightning season. I wasn't as bullish. Remember, you guys know, I wasn't as bullish early on in the preseason about this team like I was about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But as the preseason went on, and as some of the decisions that Julien Brisebois has come to light and the way that they've constructed this roster, and let's not forget, when we've talked to Julien Brisebois in the past, and we've been a part of the fireside chats with him, one of the things that he's really gone out of his way to let me know, he goes, Jay, we don't just try to improve this roster at the trade deadline. We don't just try to improve this roster in the offseason. We spend all 365 days of the calendar, 366 on a leap year, to try to make this team better. And that's why I was worried, because he says that, but going into the season, it seemed like it was kind of the same club going into the year. And I'm like, damn, is this going to be enough? Is this going to be enough to beat the Panthers? Because that's the team you got to worry about first and foremost. But now you go out and you go, okay, you bring in this big dude who's 6'9". You got Scott Sabern in the AHL. If somebody wants to get frisky, he'll come out and punch you in the face. How's that taste, Aaron Ekblad? You got Pontus Holmberg can come in. Pelletier, another guy. You got Stahoviak, another dude that's been playing pro overseas. That's probably going to be on the German national team for the Olympics. You start looking at it like, these are the pieces that I was asking for Julien Brisebois to bring in to close that gap with the Florida Panthers. Then you add in the injury to Sasha Barkov, and now you're having a completely different conversation now than you did even at the end of last season. So I feel a lot more confident about this team going forward, and I think you should too. And another reason why is I know you have the best coach in the game, one of the best coaches in all of professional sports. Head coach John Cooper spoke after morning skate today, and I asked him. He was another thing. I asked him about Victor Hedman, 17 years in the game. Here's what John Cooper, leave Ekblad out of this. That's funny. Here's what head coach John Cooper had to say.
Yeah, short straw.
Coop, just what does opening night mean to you?
Oh, it's like, when you're a little kid and Christmas morning comes, that's kind of how it is. It's first day of the regular season and first game of the playoffs. They're two unique days, and this builds for months and months. The only one team wins the Stanley Cup, the other 31 are chomping to get back at it, and that's what this day is. Plus, everybody for the most part's in first place this day, so you're really pumped about your team.
6-1 in the preseason. How are you going to take that to kind of carry over for a fast start this regular season?
It's I've known teams in this league that have gone undefeated in the preseason and didn't make the playoffs that year. So you take parts of your game out of the preseason, but the win-loss kind of irrelevant, to be honest, other than you feel good after the game. But it's all about, hopefully being healthy. Hopefully, you've got your guys in order of how you want them to play the game. But yeah, the win-loss, like I said, it's look in the standings now, you don't see those games.
Coop, you're 17 for Hetty, man. What can you say about the captain?
What have I said that, what can I say now that I haven't said already? It's 17 for him. I think it's 16 for Mac. A couple players that have, hopefully have their names in the rafters and a lot of places after this. So just phenomenal leaders for our team. To have that kind of longevity, especially in this league, in this sport, it's and to keep playing at such an elite level, it's impressive. It's and impact players in this organization, this city. Just love those guys.
What are your impressions of the Ottawa Senators and the way that they've built up their team?
Well, I think, from ownership all the way, I won't say down, but what they've done, and Steve, I like everything they've done. From the coach, the GM, to the owner. I think their captain's really come into his own. I think I said this after Four Nations, that was a little coming out party for him. I think a lot of people obviously knew about him, but I think just for his personal confidence, I think he's a phenomenal player, and there's a whole bunch of guys around him. You've got some Sanderson and Zub. That's an elite pairing on the back end, and they've just got guys that savvy vets. Look at Prawn and Giroux. I just like the way they're built, like the way they're playing. Pretty honest game.
How would you describe the challenge of getting matchups against a player like Tim Stutzle, their top line center?
Well, it's always a challenge. You hope at home it's a little bit easier to kind of get after, but like I said, they made plans for a reason. I mean, they've got some good players, and they're young and they're up and coming. So I'm pretty sure they don't want to be one and done. And so I'm expecting guys like Tim and everybody else to give us everything.
And you mentioned yesterday that maybe you might give Curtis a couple of days to kind of adapt himself, and it looks like he's going to be in the lineup tonight. What do you want to see from him?
You know what? That's just new team, first ever NHL game. It's always an exciting time for any player, and it's one of these games though. Players always remember who they played against in their first NHL game. But a lot of times they don't remember what happened in the game just because it's a bit of a blur. But it's a tough assignment for him because he's been in the city for 3 days, and now he's playing in his first ever NHL game. So he's pretty pumped. We're pumped for him, and like I said, just pucks in deep, go get it, and let the rest take care of itself. Yeah.
I love the last question from Double E. Vazzy tonight. Yeah, I was going to yeah, Andrei Vasilevsky. But you listen to what John Cooper had to say there about the kid, getting him in there, getting his feet wet. I remember Brandon Hagel when he first got traded here from Chicago, and it was just like a whirlwind. He was looking around like, I don't know what the hell. I don't even know where to get groceries. I'm expecting him to play at his best for an NHL team. It's easier said than done, no doubt about it. But Carter Douglas coming in on that fourth line with Connor Geekie and Pontus Holmberg. Really excited to see what those guys are all about tonight. And again, 16 seasons for Ryan McDonough, 17 for Victor Hedman. Absolutely incredible. I had to ask John Cooper. He's like, what more can I say? I mean, we got to say something. You're setting a record for most ever seasons with with the Tampa Bay Lightning franchise, passing Steven Stamkos at number 16, Victor Hedman at 17. Unbelievable. Good stuff. We'll talk some more hockey a little bit later on. Yes, Double E was spotted there. So was John Romano. So was Gabby Shirley. A couple of our friends that you see right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. We'll have Eddie Encina joining us at 1:30. We'll play some more audio for you guys a little bit later on. Gage Gonsalves, Yanni Gord, Eric Chernak, some of those guys one-on-ones exclusive right here on the Jay Recher podcast. We'll have our Evara Health Injury Report at 12:30. If you have any questions about injuries or fantasy football related questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Our guy Eric Moreno has been waiting, so I want to get to him. What's up, E? How are you, buddy?
What's going on, man? Ready for the game this weekend?
Yes, sir. How confident are you going up against the San Francisco 49ers?
I mean, I hope Zion can play. It's more of a pain tolerance. He play, I guess they casted it last week. So hopefully he can go tomorrow, and hopefully we can get Izzy back and get Dean back. I'm sorry to say this. I hope Dean plays. He's PFF has him like the 5th best corner in the league, so hopefully he can go. Him and Zion are a pretty good duo, with Tyke and Antoine Winfield. So hopefully we can get some interceptions. Just got to get some pressure. Those edge rushers got to get some pressure. Maybe got to blitz some more.
I know, and I think a lot of the times too, when people are talking about pressures versus sacks, and I know pressures can lead to sacks, but pressures are an almost statistic to me, man. I want to see guys get to the quarterback. I don't want to see them almost, right?
Yeah, you got to get to the quarterback. Yeah.
Hopefully, what's your score prediction for this weekend, buddy?
24-20.
Nice.
You think they're just holding Godwin, just they're saying fibula. That's why he broke last year, along with his ankle. You think he'll practice tomorrow?
Yeah, I think when you're at this point of your career, there's a recovery process that has to happen. And especially there's nothing like game. There's just nothing like a game. You can practice all you want. There's nothing like game speed. There's nothing like taking that physicality and that contact. So the fact that is it surprising? No. The only thing I'd be worried if he wasn't suited up maybe tomorrow, right? When you get closer, something, and especially when you're home too, you don't have to worry about that travel day. So for him, as long as he's out there tomorrow in some form or fashion, and Todd Bowles lets us know like he'll be okay, I'm not worried about Chris Godwin.
Zion with the thumb.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You're going to have to wait. Dr. Rodriguez joins us here in a couple of minutes. We'll get into that whole Zion McCollum thing. That is above my pay grade, my friend. But, Eric, I always appreciate the support. Go Bucks, buddy.
Go Bucks.
Got that right, pal. Good stuff there. Eric Marino in the house as well. The doc will join us here in a couple minutes right here on the Jay Recher podcast with our Evara Health Injury Report. Remember, our partners here, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. And then, of course, our friends over at Evara Health, everahealth.org. I was looking at the website yesterday. So many different things that you can go there, and it's so clean, and everybody's so happy and friendly. And the Evara Health Institute, if you're looking for a career, right? This is a place, man. Go on out there. It can change your life, literally and figuratively. I was so impressed when I was over there. I'm just so happy. I mean, you guys know if I'm partnering up with somebody, I'm just not doing it, all willy-nilly. I do my homework and make sure that this is something that I'm going to, I put my name on something. And I hope everybody out there that watches the podcast understands that if I put my name to something, if I put my word behind it, I mean it. I mean it. That is exactly what I mean. And it's something that I truly believe in. So excited, really excited about both of our partnerships with Honest Hammer and Evara Health. Christopher Cole says if Dean plays last week, he straps JSN. Maybe we don't know that for sure. Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of the best receivers in the game. And as much as I said on Monday about Emeka Egbuka not just being one of the best rookie wide receivers in the game, I think he's one of the best wide receivers all around. I think you got to say the same thing about JSN, right? He's not just one of the best second-year receivers. He's one of the best in the game. And kudos to what Clint Kubiak and the Seattle Seahawks have been able to do with Sam Darnold in this offense. People were wondering, and you saw it with Geno Smith. Geno Smith, success there in Seattle. Now he goes to Oakland, and now look, dumpster fire. It's all about the situation, the play caller, the offensive line, the setup, the head coach. A lot of that stuff has to be in place for you to be successful. Sam Darnold had that in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, right? Whatever they have done in Minnesota, whether it was Kirk Cousins, whether it was Sam Darnold, now with J.J. McCarthy, and I know it's been a little bit up and down for him, but I've said it on the show before, Kevin O'Connell, in my mind, is one of the top 5 or 6 coaches in the league. But that's probably one of the reasons why Sam Darnold was able to be successful there, and he wasn't successful in dumpster fires in Carolina and with the Jets, and now he goes to Seattle with Mike McDonald as the head coach. Clint Kubiak, we remember his dad from playing in the league and from being a play caller and a head coach himself. And then you look at the offensive line, what they've invested there. The running game with Kenny Walker and Zach Charbonnet and Jackson Smith-Njigba and Cooper Kupp, right? Like, it can't just be, hey, you're a quarterback, go out there and do your thing. There's a lot that goes into it. You can't have a great dinner with just one good thing in your meal. Your recipe for everything, there's so many different dishes. There's so many different courses. There's so many different recipes that go into those dishes. There's so many different things that have to come into play when you're having a successful quarterback in the National Football League, because the majority of them are not Joe Burrow. The majority of them are not Patrick Mahomes. The reason why we can mention those guys is because they're the exceptions to the rule. The rest of them are like Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and guys where the situation really, really matters. So good question there. Very, very excited to see what the future holds for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend and beyond. All right, let's bring him in. It's our most popular segment of the week. It's our Evara Health Injury Report with the one and only Dr. Rodriguez. Doc, what's going on? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I love that shirt.
Well, thank you.
The Evara Health, man. We love it. I'm sorry I gave it to you late, the Luke Gedeke thing. Did you see that when I texted you?
Yeah. I took a look at it. I tried to find a video online, see if I could find the injury. I couldn't, but we can talk about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's something with the foot injury here and something that he's dealt with before. And it looked like they put him on IR, so they thought it was only going to be 3 or 4 weeks. But now Adam Schefter, and we saw it courtesy of our friends at Joe Bucks fan, that Adam Schefter says, and I don't know if it was a Freudian slip of the tongue there, oh, well, 2 guys out for the year. And now you have to get, Greg Allman from Fox Sports is saying, like, oh, they don't think it's going to be season ending, but they're definitely, you can tell that the level of concern is heightened. So what do you think about this injury as far as we know?
It could be a similar injury to what Bucky Irving had. It could be that bridge of the foot again, that Liz Frank joint injury. So initially, he injured week 1 against the Falcons, aggravated in week 2. So it could be that at the beginning they thought it was a mild sprain, so he took a week off, came back. The injury is a little more serious than they thought. So now he goes on IR. He's got to miss at least 4 games when they do that. So now it's a recovery. He's been noted to be in a boot. He's been noted to be on a cart, getting around practice. So it may be that he's dealing with that midfoot sprain type injury. So he could be looking at least 4 weeks out, if not a little longer. Hopefully it's not a major injury, in which case it is a season-ending type injury.
Doc, what can you say about the training staffs? Because I hear this, and I don't think it's right when people talk about this, but they'll say, oh, the Buccaneers need to get a new strength and conditioning staff. They need to get a new training staff. I mean, these are some of the best, right? I mean, at what point, that's not fair, right? I mean, to blame these guys, it isn't, right?
It's not. I mean, these injuries happen. I mean, if you look across the league, the injuries are happening all across the league and in all different teams. So it's not the staff. It's not the training. I mean, it's the nature of the game. You have large athletes with impact and contact, and things get twisted and turned. It's not the staff's fault. It's just a little bit of the nature of the sport that we're seeing some of these injuries.
Yeah, we say all that, and then they have these guys flying at them, trying to take their head off too. That's certainly a variable. What do we know about the Zion McCollum injury? Because they were mentioning about the thumb, but then we see him in a cast and a sling. I mean, this is a little more complicated. And then Todd Bowles says it's more of a pain tolerance thing. So, man, there's just a lot of variables to this one, Doc, isn't there?
Yeah. So that injury was week 5 against the Seahawks. He suited up, played, and now that he had a thumb procedure, right? So now we see him at practice, got a cast on. He's in a sling. The cast involved the thumb. So my thinking, in the position that he plays as a cornerback, he could have what we call a UCL injury, which is the ulnar collateral ligament, which is the ligament right here inside your thumb. And that provides the stability of your thumb. Basically, when you go to grab things, if this ligament is not working well, the thumb's going to be unstable. It's a big injury in throwers, and throwers can take 9 to 12 months to recover from it. In non-throwers, it's a shorter type injury because they don't have to worry about gripping the ball and having that thumb loose. So it could be a little shorter, could be anywhere from 4 weeks to a couple of months. I mean, that depends on the procedure, depends on what was done. Now, it could have been also like a little chip fracture, and they were taking a little fragment out. So then the time for recovery could be less, could be 3 to 4 weeks. Those are really the major thumb injuries that I'm thinking of. I don't think it could have been a major fracture because he would have been listed out for the year. So that ulnar collateral ligament is a very common injury. I tried to see the videos of the tackle when he potentially got hurt, and his thumb could have been twisted in such a way that could have been what happened there.
Is that the same? Because when I've heard UCL, it was with the elbow for a lot of pitchers. Is that the same thing, or is that different?
So it's kind of the. We have a UCL here, which is the ulnar collateral ligament. The ulna is essentially your little bone here. So essentially, it's kind of also the medial collateral. It's on the ulnar side of the thumb. Wow, so that's why we also call it UCL. It's basically the medial collateral, ulnar collateral ligament of the thumb. And it's right here, basically at your knuckle. We also call it the skier's thumb injury because it's very common in skiers holding the pole, and they don't let go of the pole as they fall. And then the handle will bring their thumb back and tear and sprain that ligament.
Wow, that's great stuff as always, Doc. We're here with the Evara Health Injury Report with our guy, Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. Really, really good stuff there because people are wondering, and now they say it's pain tolerance, Doc. So do you think he could play this weekend?
No, I mean, if he just had surgery on it and he's in a cast and a sling, I'm doubtful that he will play on Sunday. His recovery from even the simplest of surgery is going to be at least 2 weeks. There's going to be swelling in the area, and then you got to work on range of motion. Again, you could brace the thumb for certain things, but you still got to allow it to recover. So my expectation is that he's at least out a couple of weeks.
So Todd Bowles, and when I want to get your opinion on this as a doc, when you hear coaches say things, for media, we're a little jaded, right? We're just like, all right, well, believe it when we see it. Like, we can't take everything for gospel because we know that they're playing the game, right? They can't reveal everything. But when you see injuries and you hear things like, oh, it's pain tolerance, sometimes as a doctor, you look at them and go, okay, we know what that injury really entails, right?
Yeah, and there may be injuries where, there's certain knee injuries and foot injuries where pain tolerance could be the guide as to how you perform. But with this, knowing that he had actual surgery and see him that he's in that thumb tight cast, it's not just a matter of pain tolerance. Now he's recovering from a surgical procedure.
What do we know about the quarterbacks that the Buccaneers could face this weekend? Mac Jones, Brock Purdy. We know Brock Purdy has been so successful, gets the big contract. Mac Jones playing some pretty good football after his years with the New England Patriots. What do we know about this weekend?
So Brock Purdy's dealing with the same injury Joe Burrow's dealing with, right? He's got a turf toe. So he injured week 1, missed 2 and 3, re-aggravated it week 4. Turf toe essentially is a hyperextension of your toe. So if I get my foot model again here, essentially what happens is your foot is in this position against the turf. The toe gets bent backwards as the heel is up. So it's a hyperextension of the toe. That creates a tear and a sprain of the plantar plate of the toe. So it becomes very painful to do anything when you're stepping, pushing off your foot. It takes time. Usually 1 to 2 weeks to recover on a very mild sprain, usually 3 to 6 weeks on moderate sprains. High sprains need surgery to repair the plantar plate. So it's a matter that we know that throwers, the force of the throw and everything starts from the ground up. So if you're not able to ground yourself and get that toe on the ground and push off, that's going to affect your throw. And plus, there's pain and mobility issues that come along with it. So Brock may be out another couple of weeks before he's back. Regarding Mac Jones, PCL, posterior cruciate ligament injury in the knee during training camp, aggravated at week 3 against the Cardinals. He now also suffered, he got pretty beat up against the Rams, so he also has now an oblique injury. Posterior cruciate ligaments are usually non-operative, so we don't do surgery for those. Recovery anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks from a mild sprain, 2 to 4 months if it's a higher type of sprain. But you could brace the PCL for stabilities to prevent the leg from sliding back on the knee. For the oblique injury, we're looking usually about 3 to 6 weeks for mild sprains for recovery. Those can be injected to accelerate the process of healing. He has played with the PCL injury the last 3 games, done really well with it. He got banged up, so he could again see time against the Bucs.
It's going to be wild. I mean, a lot of guys going into that game not feeling 100%. Speaking of knee injuries, I sent you something about Brock Bowers, too. I know a lot of our people out there that play fantasy football or keep an eye on the Raiders. Brock Bowers, one of the best players in the game. What about his injury, Doc? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, like, is he 100%? I mean, it just seems like he's trying to gut through this, but he's not 100% either.
Yeah, so a similar injury to the one we just talked about. So that was reported as a posterior cruciate ligament and a bone bruise. He actually played for 3 weeks with those injuries, but his productivity, his movement, his tackling was not there. So he sat out the last game. He's been listed day to day. Again, posterior cruciate ligament injuries, recovery time 2 to 4 weeks. He played with this type of injury for about 3 weeks. So we will be looking at now a rest period. I don't think he's going to play this weekend, take another week off. Maybe by the next week and the next game, he may be ready to give it another go.
Back to the Buccaneers. Chris Godwin missed practice again today. is that alarming to you? I mean, they said it's a fibula injury, and we know that we had to deal with him in the past. I answered the question. I think you were watching. I don't know if I just think there's going to be normal kind of, rust that he's going to have to get knocked off. He's not going to come back. We saw it in the past when he returned from his ACL. It takes a little while, doesn't it, Doc? Is this cause for concern, or is this just one of those things where it happens?
It's the same foot, fibula. We know he had a dislocation, so that requires surgery, likely some hardware plates, screws put in there. There's impact again involved in the sports that he plays. So could he have gotten hurt and there's maybe a little bit of a stress injury there, or just pain from the plates and screws in the stress of the injury? So it could be this could be more of a pain issue more than anything else, where he's just got a lot of aggravation from the pain, from the beating and the running and everything that goes on, and still the recovery process from having hardware in the foot. So in this case, it could be more giving him a little bit of time to rest, recover from maybe a banged up play or maybe a little bit of inflammation in the area, and then seeing how he does on a day-to-day basis after that.
Doc, I want to switch gears a little bit, because when you're talking about that, I'm thinking about me as a youth baseball coach and a lot of my friends that are youth coaches in other sports. What have you seen as far as youth football goes? If somebody asks you, hey, is it a good thing that my kid plays tackle football? Is there an age that you think maybe guys should wait until, because you see some guys play flag before they play tackle? What have you seen in your years doing this as far as kids and tackle football? Is there an age maybe it would be better for them to start at rather than starting them so early, or is this just kind of the nature of the beast kind of thing?
Yeah, no, the studies show that, it's okay to play at a younger age, to develop some skills. Now, it's the introduction of certain drills, certain hits that you want to stay away from, because the small body, young bones may not be prepared for those. So it's the same thing with concussion and head injuries, right? It's one of the big things when you look at youth football. It's essentially keeping away from the drills that may cause those type of injuries with more frequency, and then being mindful that if you see some sort of overuse or injury or some sort of concussion or head injury, that you're very mindful that kids can have severe consequences from those injuries. But starting at a young age, 6, 8, 10, playing small little league football, you're playing against little kids too, so the impact, the hit is not as hard. It's really practices and the drills, teaching them the right tackling techniques, teaching them how to avoid hitting with your crown or your helmet, hitting with your head, using more your shoulders, your body to tackle, appropriate tackling techniques. As long as you're teaching the appropriate mechanics, it's safe to play the sport.
What do you tell people that if you think your kid has a concussion, what's the first step, and what should they be doing as far as keeping an eye on their little one?
Oh, the first step is removal from competition. So we know that if in doubt, that's a mantra. If in doubt, keep him out. So if there's any inkling, any thought that there could be a concussion injury, the first thing is you're out. You're not coming back to the game. And then having them evaluated by someone who's a concussion expert. I've treated many concussions throughout the years. I used to work at All Children's Hospital in their concussion program. All Children's Hospital has a great concussion program going on also there. So the main thing is having a good evaluation and then careful in the return to play. There's a protocol when you're going back to play. It's not one of those things when we were younger. Oh, you just got your bell rung. Just go ahead and get back in there. We don't do that anymore. If you suspect a concussion, you're going to be out at least a week.
I remember I had one my sophomore year of high school. I was playing hockey. I was skating in one direction, and it was actually a friend of mine, and the puck turned, and we both turned at the same time. And then when we turned back, we were so close, and boom, we clapped heads. And I went to, we didn't really know. It just, and then the next morning I woke up and I couldn't stay awake in class. And I was like, I need to go home. And my parents had to take me. And what are some of the warning signs that you see? Because sometimes, yeah, it's apparent you got your bell rung, but is there anything that we can look out for? Because I know we have a lot of parents that watch the show here. Yeah. What are some of the telltale signs that we can keep an eye on? Maybe it's like an underlying concussion symptom.
Concussion symptoms vary. But if you're looking at the most common symptoms, headache, light issues, light bothers you, sound bothers you, concentration problems, some short-term memory type problems that not remembering what happened during the game or shortly around the circumstances of the hit during the game. Those are usually the more common things that you see. Now, I've seen everything from the symptom could be the kids crying. and that's it.
Mhm.
And all they have is emotional response to the injury. On the other side, loss of consciousness, right? That could be a pretty severe type of symptom. But you have to be mindful of, it's not just a head hit or head impact. You could be hitting your body, and if your head changes direction, that changes in acceleration and change in direction can actually cause a concussion. So it's not just a head impact. You could actually be blindsided on your body, and your head jolts the other way, and that's going to cause some concussion type injuries too.
Like
So
a
it's being
whiplash,
very
like a
mindful.
whiplash kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a whiplash. It's just your brain inside your skull just kind of gets shook, and that can cause some of the injuries too.
Fantastic stuff. I know we touch on a lot of different things here on the injury report. Very grateful for you, Doc. Let's get back to the Buccaneers. Jamel Dean looks like he's practicing today. Could be out there. I mean, this is a guy where he's going to be a topic of the injury report every year. This guy, he's always got something going on. But what do we know as far as the Jamel Dean injury? And I'm sure it's a positive sign that he's back out there today with the Bucs.
So initially, the first report was hip and groin injury. Now it's down to just a hip injury. So it could be a sprain, could be a tendinous injury around the hip area, maybe just a mild sprain. It's a good sign that he's practicing and he's coming back. So there's no major injuries. We're not thinking about a major groin strain. We're not thinking about a labrum tear, which is a cartilage tear inside the hip. So the fact that he's practicing is a good sign for him to return this Sunday.
Terrion Arnold is a guy that has been a really good player for the Detroit Lions, and the Buccaneers will see them next week. But it seems like he's avoided some, season-ending stuff. What do we know about that? Because it's kind of wild, all the different, prognostications of what we think is going to happen. But it looks like it's not season-ending for him, it looks like.
Right. So initially, it was reported he had a season-ending shoulder injury. He sought a second opinion. That second opinion told him no. You should be able to come back by the end of October. My thinking is that the initial MRIs showed maybe what's called a labral tear, and I actually have a little
nice
demonstration here.
Yes.
So your shoulder is like a golf ball sitting on a tee, and that's inherently unstable because it wants to fall off. So you got to have structures that help it stabilize. So the shoulder has something called a labrum, which is a big piece of Play-Doh holding your shoulder in place. So if the labrum is thought to be torn, that ball is now, again, unstable. And the only way to fix a labrum is surgery. And the recovery from a surgery like that is usually 6 months. So at that point, you're thinking season ending. So he may have had a repeat MRI, maybe an MRI with contrast this time, seeks a second opinion. And then that opinion shows, hey, the labrum is okay. Maybe also no rotator cuff type injuries, no rotator cuff tears. So now instead of looking at season-ending surgery, we're looking at rehabilitation, some immobilization, strengthening process, and in a period of 4 to 6 weeks, he may be able to be back playing.
I actually, I was a pretty decent athlete, I guess, not tooting my own horn, but I played a lot of softball growing up and into my adulthood. And man, I'm just breaking down my left knee. I'm coming to see you, Doc. Left knee, my right ankle, but my right arm from throwing for all these years. My elbow's in bad shape. My shoulder's in bad shape. And for years, it was just my elbow. My shoulder was okay. And one day I picked up the ball and I threw it sidearm really quick. And I felt something right here. And it was like a burning sensation throughout my body. Well, I mean, I know it's impossible for you to diagnose me through the computer, but when something like that, was something I've never felt before. Is that kind of a normal
that could have
reaction?
Been a stinger, maybe a stinger, maybe you hyperstretch the nerves from your neck. I'm actually across the front side of the shoulder here. And sometimes when you get hit or hyperextend on the front here, or a stretch of the capsule can cause those nerves to fire up. And that's usually the typical stinger that you hear about, where you feel you get hit, the arm gets hyperextended, and on your hand and arm went numb. Takes a few minutes, sometimes just seconds, and then you kind of get your feeling back on that. Now, if it just happens in one arm, that's great. But if you get hit and it's happening on both arms at the same time, now that may be more of a neck injury, and that's more concerning.
Well, you're going to help put me back together, hopefully, Doc, so I can get out there and play some sports myself. Last one for me. We asked you about growth plate issues a couple of weeks ago. Another one of my players says what his dad was telling me is little league elbow. And this is a kid that he doesn't really, he doesn't throw a lot of curveballs. He doesn't do a lot, but he's 13 years old and, he's growing. He's getting bigger by the day, but he can't really throw because he's got little league elbow. What is that other than just a fancy term that everybody likes to put on to their kid?
So earlier on, we talked about the UCL in the elbow.
Right.
You mentioned that, which is usually, the Tommy John surgery in an adult. You tear the UCL, you get Tommy John surgery. In a kid, the ligament is stronger than the growth plate, and there's a growth plate where the ligament attaches. So similar mechanism, the constant stretch from throwing on the inside part of your elbow. What happens is the ligament starts pulling the growth plate off the bone and starts separating it. So it's a similar type of mechanism. The injury is a little different because we deal with a growth plate type injury as opposed to a ligament tear. The treatment is rest. Rest from any kind of throwing, usually until the pain is completely gone. Once the pain is completely gone, we usually put the athletes through a throwing program. We look at mechanics. There are certain mechanics in the arm position, the slot, the release, that may contribute more to the propensity of developing elbow issues. So we try to fix those things and then go through a throwing program basically to get back to throwing and preventing injuries in the future. Very common in pitchers. It's not just the curveball. It's actually the amount of throws and sometimes mechanics. If you know how to throw a curveball and you throw it correctly, there's really no bigger stress on the elbow than if you're throwing a fastball. So it's really a matter of technique more than anything else and mechanics. But it's just really the amount of throwing and the constant stress that the ligament puts on the bone that leads to the little league elbow.
Doc, I'm fascinated that there's certain athletes, whether they're youth or pros, that you could, have an arm problem, you can't throw, but they can still hit. And it's fascinating to me. How does that happen where, it's like, yeah, well, he can't throw like Shohei Ohtani. Well, he can't throw Tommy John, but he can still swing. No problem. That's not going to affect him at all. It's one thing if it doesn't hurt him, but the fact that he can still swing the bat as fast as he can, and he's not doing any damage to, an injured elbow. How does that make any sense to the common human being?
Well, different mechanism. So the UCL is not under stress when you are batting. So if I'm left-handed, so if I'm throwing, of course, there's going to be a lot of stress here. But if I'm batting, there's no stress on the inside of my elbow as I'm swinging a bat. Right. Now, if I'm batting right-handed, I could have a little bit of an issue there. But usually it's just completely different mechanism and complete different motion of a swing of a bat versus throwing a baseball.
Doc, how excited are you for tonight? Lightning home opener.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great season. I was actually at the preseason game, the last one against the Panthers, and I had never seen so much fighting in one night.
Insane, man. Almost 500 penalty minutes in those last two preseason games.
Yeah.
Doc, you are the best, man. Our Evara Health Injury Report. It's our most popular segment of the entire week. I'm here at Benchmark International Arena. They're ready, man. That's how we finish the interview with the Doc, with the horn right here at the bench. Doc, I always appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend and enjoy the hockey tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go Bolts.
You go. I love it. Go Bolts. He's all over it, baby. Go Bolts is right. Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, it's our number one segment on the show. I don't care. It's 100%. Just there's so much. And Zion McCollum, that's the big thing. Pain tolerance. Again, we had the same conversation last week before we talked to Doc about Bucky Irving, crutches, and the boot. And people said, oh, well, if he's off by Friday, he'll be fine. No, he's not. Same thing with Zion McCollum. Yeah, pain tolerance. That's what Coach Todd Bowles is saying. But if he already told us that he went through surgery, as Doc said right there, recuperation, right? And I mentioned it yesterday. All right, let's say it is a pain tolerance thing. And Doc was telling us about the thumb. You got to be able to get your hands on guys. You got to be able to wrap up and tackle. If the ball comes, you got to be able to catch it. Like, that's part of the game. Like, you can't just be out there and be a figurehead and act like you're playing with no arms. Like, you can't do that in the National Football League. As good as Zion McCollum is, like, they're going to attack him and they'll go after him time and time again. They'll run to his side. They'll throw to his side. And then when he can't tackle, it's like they're going to have to take him out of the game because it's like he's not going to be able to grab the guy. It's almost similar to what we saw with Jason Pierre-Paul early on in his career after he had the firework injury, right? When he had the three fingers and he couldn't wrap guys up. He kind of learned and adapted and but that's something that like he's going to have to deal with the rest of his life. This is an injury. Like, it's a pain tolerance issue, as Coach Todd Bowles alluded to. And right, he's got to be able to perform. You can't just put a guy out there and think like, hey, he's compromised, but 70% of him is better. It's not always about the percentage. Or 70% of him is better than somebody else. No, it depends on what your injury is. Right? You could say that about a foot injury. Well, 70% of him, yeah, if you can't backpedal, you can't cover nobody. Right? I mean, think about it. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. So a really, really great discussion as always with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez, Evara Health. What a fantastic partnership. And make sure if you see him at the game, say hello. Don't get up all in his grill and start asking about a bunch of injuries, because that's what he does here on the program, here on the Jay Recher podcast. Doc, we love you, man. Thank you so much for your time. Look at this. Lady Evil, our guy. My favorite segment. You can't get that kind of content anywhere else. You got that right. You got that right. Richie P, perfect finish to that interview. Yep, go Bolts, baby. All day, every day. Thank you guys so much. This is, it's every single Thursday at 12:30. Doc is going to join us here on the program for the Evara Health Injury Report. Just so many good things when we talk about these injuries that you're not going to get anywhere else. Robert Cochran's been waiting. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Getting ready for this, the first home preseason game for the Thunder tonight. And then off to Denton first thing in the morning to go root on those Bulls against the dirty mean green of North Texas.
Have you been paying attention to North Texas at all?
I've been kind of, sort of. I know they haven't played anybody. They haven't played anybody, and their favorite thing to say on social media whenever you tell their fans that they haven't played anybody is, "We can't control our schedule." You control your out of conference schedule.
Right.
So,
Robert, what's your Twitter handle again for everybody?
Robert C. USF Bulls, because it's my first name, last initial
USF Bulls. Okay, you got it. I thought you were gonna Robert C. USF Bulls. That's like I was thinking like, maybe you should shorten it, but nah, man, just keep it the way it is. You've been rocking with it for this entire time. What do you give me a score prediction, buddy? You're usually right on it.
I'm feeling USF by 2 touchdowns.
Really?
USF by 2 touchdowns, and it's gonna. I feel like this past game against Charlotte was a real wake up for them. Like, we can't be doing what we did against Charlotte against North Texas. North Texas was a lot better than Charlotte, but I feel like some of those throws that Byram was making against Charlotte that led to interceptions, he wouldn't have made if he played against a better team. And Coach Golish in his weekday interview kind of alluded to that yesterday or the day before, whichever one he was in front of the media. He was like, these guys, they kind of took their foot off the gas, but he said that they were spinning this week to clean everything up, and that makes me happy. That makes me happy.
Sure, that does. Robert, I appreciate it, man. Have a good time. Make sure you take a bunch of pictures and tag me on social media, brother.
Absolutely. Go Bulls. Go Thunder.
Sir. Go Bulls, go Thunder. Robert Cochran, our guy, man, always chiming in from OKC. What a great dude and a big-time fan right there. Yeah, Bobby C looking swole, bro, with the sleeveless, rocking the jersey. I'm with you, buddy. Real quick, let me tell you about my friends over. I got to talk about our partners here, TheHonestHammer.com in the house, baby. Look at my guys here. Smooth as silk. 813-244-0956, The Honest Hammer. Go check out my guy. Russ is the man, the whole crew. The way that they work together to get you got to follow them on social media, man. Hold on. Search Honest Hammer. Bro, these guys on point. Just look at what they've been able to do here. I mean, the framing crew. Look at how everything has come together. It's so clean. So clean. I mean, it's incredible, man. It's incredible. The craftsmanship, the attention to detail. I know a lot of people get worried when they do stuff like this, and they're like, all right, what, I'm spending all this money on home renovations, my kitchen, my bathroom, a new house getting built, and you're worried about who you're going to work with. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry, because my guys at Honest Hammer will take care of you. Like, I know it's a really big, excuse me, hold on. It's a big decision, man. It's a big decision when you're trying to work with somebody and you're spending thousands of dollars to get this work done. Honest Hammer is the way to go. General Contractor Company, CGC 153-116-813-244-0956, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Go to thehonesthammer.com and see all the different things that they do. Your new custom home, they got you. Bathroom and kitchen remodels, new and commercial construction, interior and structural renovations. If you just have a certain part of your house that you're just like, I don't like how that looks, I need somebody to kind of freshen it up, Honest Hammer is the way to go. 813-244-0956. Tell them that you heard it right here on the J Recher podcast and get you a discount, baby. EveraHealth.org. We just had the Evara Health Injury Report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. I can't say enough nice things about them. But again, I keep going back to the Evara Health Institute. If you are looking for a career and you want to be a medical assistant, a dental assistant, behavioral health tech, a radiation tech, a pharmacy tech, you're getting in this. And I know a lot of people out there, whether you have a brother or a son or a daughter, and they're in their 20s and they don't know what to do, they don't want to commit to anything. The Evara Health Institute was very similar to what I went to when I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and changed my life forever. And same kind of thing. It's not a 4-year school. It's a trade school. I think it's about around a year. It's not all that expensive. It's a lot cheaper than some of these other quote unquote trade schools that are going to put you in a position to be a pharmacy tech, a behavioral health tech. Evara Health Institute. Go check it out, man. Just go walk around. You want to just go, there's 17 different locations. They take care of you from the cradle to the grave. EveraHealth.org. You see the screen right there. There's so many different things that you can go. And listen, they take all kinds of insurance. And just because they take all kinds of insurance, that's not a bad thing, right? Don't look at them like they're just a quote unquote free clinic and they don't really put their best foot forward, or it's not clean, or bro, they help everybody. You don't have insurance, they help you. They take any kind of insurance. Go there. And the pharmacy is right there. It's on the campus. So you don't have to go anywhere if you have to get medication. I love it, man. I love it. It's really, really good stuff. All right. So let's get, you're right, Benny, talking about our friends over at Honest Hammer. Framing houses, when done right, is literally art. That's exactly what we saw right there. And again, shout out to Lady Evil, $5 super chat. Guys, if you want to contribute via the super chat, that's how you're going to keep us going. Our partners, Honest Hammer and Evara Health, right here. And then also our super chats as well. Thank you so much, Lady Evil. You guys are the best. All right, some of the other things from practice today. Christian Izzian and Jamel Dean appear to be practicing today on day 2, which is good news. Michael Jordan also practicing. No, not that Michael Jordan or that Michael Jordan, the other Michael Jordan. Great to see that. Could he be in the mix for that right guard position? Could be. No Chris Godwin, no Benjamin Morrison, no Mike Evans, and no Bucky Irving. That's rough. Greg Allman said today as well, Bucs aren't setting a specific timetable for tackle Luke Gedicke's return from his foot injury. The team is hopeful he'll play again this season. Injury shouldn't be seen as season-ending right now. And again, we just mentioned this when we were having this conversation with Coach Rodriguez, or Coach, with Doc Rodriguez. It's not a great thing to hear. Not a great thing to hear when you're talking about Luke Gedicke, because you're hoping that he can be back sooner rather than later. You're hoping that this is a guy that can be able to come back and contribute to the team and be one of the best right tackles in all of football. But the fact that we're already having this discussion that they're hopeful he could be back this season, that's not a good frame of context. That's not a great thing to say when you're thinking initially that he's only going to be out 3 to 4 weeks. But if there's one team that can kind of hold the fort down, and there's one team that can kind of sustain all these injuries, we know it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it sucks because Luke Gedicke would be a huge loss. And you really haven't been able to see kind of the whole playbook, I think, with the Buccaneers because they're dealing with a shuffled offensive line. But if somebody's going to figure it out, it's going to be Josh Grizzard in the Bucs. And Josh Grizzard, I know he's speaking right now over at the Evara Health Training Center at One Buccaneer Place. Another $2 super chat from our guy, Jay Gatto, 305. Thank you, Jay. We'll have a Kucherov plus 150 for a goal on my tickets. Yeah, I want to hear you guys. You got score predictions for the game tonight? Got any score predictions for the game tonight? Feel free to put them here, right here on the program. We'll play them. We'll see what we can do. We talked about a lot of the Buccaneers things. So, you know what? Why don't we play some of the other audio that we got from earlier today from over at the Evara Health Training Center? Because I got a lot of good audio, and I want to play that for you guys, including Eric Chernak. Let's get to that stuff now, because we talked a lot of the Buck stuff we were going to talk about with the doc. All right. Eric Chernak, I mean, this is a guy who's played so much better now that Ryan McDonough is here, right? He's with the crew. He's playing his best hockey. You got to really admire the kind of player that he is and what he's been able to do. Get those Lightning predictions in now. Benny's got 4-3 bolts. David Terry, 4-3 bolts in overtime. King Cook, what's up, baby? You stay fresh. I'm trying to do my thing. I'm going to show you let's show you the kicks now. I'll show you the kicks. Everybody been waiting. All right, here we go. You know me. When I'm wearing my gold tie, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm wearing gold shoes, but it does mean that they're going to be a gold accent somewhere. So I want you to check out. These are my seafoam joints right here. The seafoam with the gold on the inside with the gold accents. These are gold all the way around the side, all the way on the other side. You know, we fresh to death. We the best, nothing less. So I got the charcoal top with the black pants, the seafoam shoes with the gold tie. So we got to mix it up, man. We got to mix it up. That is how we roll here on the program. It's funny because Sticks and Stools starts on Saturday, and they told me no suits, no fancy shoes. I'm like, damn it. So I'm going to have to bring my suit here, drop my suit off, and then to go outside and put a polo and shorts on or a polo and pants on. Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Appreciate you, King Cook, D, Terry, Jay Gatto, and the crew. Let's hear from Eric Chernak, the guy, Drago. And remember, he is going to be playing with a shield tonight. And I remember I was growing up back in the day, playing with a shield versus not playing with a shield. Sometimes guys try to play it down, but it's different. It's completely different. It really is. So go check this out. And I asked him, and I was very surprised. Not surprised, but I was happy that he was just so transparent and honest. Here's what Eric Chernak had to say about opening night and also playing with the shield tonight.
Opening night ever get old, man?
No, it's amazing, exciting time. Like I said, for the fans, for us, for the players. You know, hockey was gone the whole summer, so I think everybody's excited, and we just want to get the first win.
Adjustments playing with the shield, is it something that just you got to get used to it quick, or does it take a while?
Yeah, obviously it's not the best because your vision is a little bit limited there. You know, it's different than the regular, but you know that's just part of hockey. That's what I have to do right now for hopefully 1 or 2 more weeks, and it will be fine.
When you're looking at this team, Coop always talks about munching points training. How important is it to get off to a fast start this season?
Oh, you know, the season is long, but if you kind of fell asleep during the start of the season, then it's just kind of hard to catch up those points. So we have to be right on our game from the first game, starting tonight, and just go from there.
Finally, how can you guys take some of those winning habits from the preseason? I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to the regular season, but I'm sure you guys have developed some good things you'd like to bring over to, starting tonight.
Yeah, we were talking about it during the preseason training camp. You want to start with winning games. You want to have that winning mentality. I think we're doing a good job in preseason games. And now, like I said, we just have to carry that on to the regular season and start getting points.
The man, Eric Chernak, he's such a badass, man. Such a tough guy. And he's been there, and he's always willing to step in and be able to help out. And throw his body around. He's just such a fantastic part of this team. And you saw his game really kind of come back to life a little bit with Ryan McDonough returning last year. So, and he's always got time. He's always got time to chat. And, you know, like English isn't his native language, and he's just learned and gotten so much better over the years. And he's always so gracious with his time. I can't say enough nice things about Drago, Eric Chernak. I know this next guy, I know he was on the team last year. They picked him up at the trade deadline. But it's just still so nice to be able to come to the arena and see Yanni Gourde with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's just it's almost like it was an off-season acquisition. But talking to Yanni, and man, I've talked to Yanni for almost 10 years, right? You could just tell it's nice to be here. He signed a long-term contract. He's playing on this third line, and he's going to be a guy that they rely on going forward to be able to be a big-time factor, you know, and to chip in some points as well. He's going to be playing with Oliver Bjorkstrand. He's going to be playing with Mitchell Chaffee. We know how important that third line is. Gordo was part of it when he was with Barclay Goodrow and with Blake Coleman when this team won those back-to-back cups. So got a chance to speak to Gordo today about the return in his first home ice, and welcome back to the Tampa Bay Lightning season opener here at Benchmark International Arena. Here is what Gordo had to say.
All right, pal. First home opener for you in a while, man. How cool is that? I mean, what's the excitement level for you tonight?
Yeah, super excited. Honestly, back in this building, you know how much energy there's going to be in first game of the season. Just super excited to be back and be starting, be on the opening roster for the Tampa Bay Lightning this season.
How's the adjustment been the last couple of months with you guys getting back familiar with the area?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun. Good getting back here and kind of getting settled again. And no, it's been great. And like I said, I think we look forward for this game, and we're super excited to get it started.
I know you're focused on this season, but how much do you look back to how last season ended as motivation for, you know, with this group, you know, what the possibilities are? Do you use that last year for motivation, or is it just a clean slate this year?
No, you use that for motivation, and for you always try to get better, and like part of it is looking back at what you did wrong or what went wrong or where you can improve, and it is tons of learning things that we're going to take from last year and carry them into this year. And we know this group is super talented, super great. We have to keep building on that and bring a little bit more of the maybe a little bit more of the toughness and the consistency of and finding different ways to win games.
So great to have Yanni back. And, you know, he echoes some of those same sentiments that we heard from Andrei Vasilevsky at the end of last season and to start this season about the consistency and how important it is for this team to play more consistent and have that toughness and to show some of that mettle that they showed a couple of years ago when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups. And the consistency, they cannot say that enough. You got to be able to bring it every single night. And if you don't do that, you leave yourself susceptible to getting bounced in the first round. And that's exactly what we've seen the last couple of years for our Bolts. And then finally, Gage Gonsalves, first opening night for him with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was hurt last year. He's also going to be playing on the line with Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli. Here's what he had to say about opening night.
Yeah, I think just, not having seen it before, obviously, like, it's going to be fun to see all the fans again. And I heard them in the playoffs last year and how crazy it can get around hockey season. So, I think just a lot of excitement for tonight.
Did anyone from your family?
Just my girlfriend's here right now, but no, mom and dad are going to be doing a little watch party at home with a bunch of other family members and stuff like that. So other than that, I think that's it.
How exciting is it to play with Hagel and Cirelli? You know that their chemistry the last couple of years has been off the charts, and to get that opportunity, playing opening night, that's got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it's trying not to get in their way. No, but they're two unbelievable guys off the rink, and obviously 4 nations and everything they accomplished last year on the ice. It's pretty honored to start there, and hopefully I can kind of just keep building that chemistry up with them and try and just play my game and like to pass the puck. So hopefully I can get them in good spots where they can shoot and put it in the back of the net. Yeah, I think just
And there you go. Keys Gonsalves speaking to the media there. Really, really good stuff. This is a guy they're going to rely on there in the middle six to be able to put the puck in the back of the net. And if he can do that, watch out for this Tampa Bay Lightning. They're giving opportunities to some of these young players to be able to go out there and do their thing and to show what they're worth. We shall see. Some breaking news here. Looks like Eric Spoelstra is going to be the next coach of Team USA, taking over for Steve Kerr. No surprise there, as he's been an assistant with Team USA for a while there. Did you guys see this trade last night where the Jaguars traded for Greg Newsome, Tyson Campbell to the Browns? I mean, just listen, if you're a guy like Tyson Campbell, the Jags sent Campbell in a 2026 7th-round pick they previously acquired from the Eagles to the Browns for Newsome in a 2026 6th-round pick they had acquired from the Jets. Newsome, 25 years old, playing on a 5th-year option, paying him $13.38, scheduled to become a free agent after the season. Struggled last year, opened the door for him to return. After an injury, Jaguars selected Campbell with the 33rd pick in 2021. He signed a 4-year, $76.5 million contract extension with $53.4 million guaranteed just before the start of the 2024 training camp. When you look at this situation, the Browns you're getting rid of this contract if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? You're looking at a guy where it's like two guys that they're kind of similar when it comes to their play, right? If you're the Jags and you're 4-1, are you really going to make this deal if it's a big step down when it comes to the talent level here? I don't think so. But you're also looking ahead at your contract situation. Jacksonville's got to be one of those teams this season that has to be so pleasantly, maybe surprised is too strong of a term, but they have to be very happy with what they've got as far as early returns with Liam Cohen. His work with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence looked a lot better in that game against Kansas City. He looked like the guy that came back from, right? He looked like that dude that it was, okay, this is the guy that you drafted number 1 overall. This is the guy that when he was coming out of Clemson, people thought he was, all right, you're looking at a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't think we've even gotten, Travis Hunter. Have you heard Travis Hunter's name very much through 5 weeks? Not much at all. And you think about some of the other rookies out there and who's been able to contribute, he's not been one of them. But they're 4-1. If I would have said to you before the season that Travis Hunter would be relatively quiet through the first couple of weeks of the season, and this team would be where they're at, and standing at the top of the AFC South with a 4-1 record, tied with the Indianapolis Colts, I think you'd probably say that was crazy. But they're on a 3-game win streak. They're buying what Liam Cohen is selling. Good for them, man. I don't think many people thought that there'd be a possibility for 2 playoff teams coming out of the AFC South, but hell, you look at it right now, they're the only team. They might be the only division. Yeah, they're the only division in all of football with 2 4-win teams. That is crazy. And the Houston Texans, who started out 0-3, they've won their last 2 as well. So everybody in the – wait, hold on. The Packers tied. So everybody in the South won last week or their last game. So there you go. But the NFC South and the AFC South are the only 2 divisions that have every team coming off of a win. Tennessee Titans with that win. And we spoke about the Titans win over the Arizona Cardinals yesterday on the Beckles and Recher podcast. If you missed it, a great conversation with our guy, Ian Beckles, every Wednesday from the Dignitary Cafe, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go check them out when you can. And we had the conversation about Emery DeMarcado getting smacked up by Jonathan Gannon and getting fined $100,000 by the Arizona Cardinals. And I knew this was going to come out eventually. And you're seeing people like Sean Salisbury. You're seeing a couple other coaches out there, or not coaches, or former players like, oh, this is the wussification of sports and blah, blah, blah. Like, again, man, we if you listen to the podcast that we said yesterday, it's one thing if you're like, you're trying to get a guy to keep his chin up. Like, it's one thing if like I don't want to say like, we got to know the difference here, right? We got to know the difference between like, come on, man, keep your head up and giving a guy like something like this, or patting a guy in his head. Like, come on, man, you got this. and another where you're like walking past the guy and you're like drilling him as like a punishment. That's where you draw the line. And I just think it's so crazy that people are so blanketed and so black and white with situations like this, like, and not understanding that there's a gray area. Like, oh, this is the wussification of sports. Like, you would want somebody to walk up to your kid pissed off and smack him in his chest? All right, then that just means you're a shitty parent. Sorry, dude. Like, there's different ways to motivate. If you have to put your hands on somebody in that fashion to be able to motivate them, then you're probably in the wrong profession. You should probably be looking to do something else. That's unacceptable. I'm sorry. And I don't think it's the wussification of sports either. It's crazy to me. Last night, the Yankees lost in the ALDS to the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto kept trying to keep him in it. And when you look at a guy like Aaron Judge, I mean, Aaron Judge did everything that he could. Just look at his stats. The 3-run home run the other night. But the Yankees are just such a unique team. There is no team like the Yankees in all of sports. There isn't. Because when the Yankees lose, it brings an unbridled joy and a collective celebration from so many people across the world. They are the evil empire. They are the logo that represents the biggest media market in the country, in the world. And you know how obnoxious some of their fans can be. You know how it is, especially living in the Tampa Bay area, guys that swear that they're Yankee fans, but they've never even been in New York City. But when they lose, it's not like the Cowboys. It's not like the Lakers. It's not like Notre Dame. It's not, you know why? Because all those other teams are good, but they're not the best. The Yankees are the best. They're the greatest. And that's what really pisses people off when they win and really makes people feel good. They revel. They revel in their failures. People love to see the Yankees lose because they've won more championships than anybody. They have the history. We talked about historical references. They have the history. The Babe Ruths, the Mickey Mantles, the Joe DiMaggios, and then, recent success in the last 50 years with the teams in the 70s, and then the teams in the 90s and the 2000s. 2009 winning their last World Series. They had a stat yesterday on that game or during that game about the droughts, and I don't think they've ever gone 20 years without a World Series. That's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy. But this is a team filled with guys that just, they don't play the game the right way. They're not talented enough. You look at their approach at the plate, and Anthony Volpe and Jazz Chisholm could never play on the Yankee teams in the 90s. Their approach to the plate is terrible. 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 And there's no surprise that a team like Toronto moved on. When you have your best player and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. up there being arguably the hardest at bat. He's protecting the outside corner. He's really making you pay on pitches middle in. And then you look at Ernie Clement. You look at Addison Barter stepping up. You're looking at all these different guys. Who was it? Nathan Lucas stepping up with the big hit yesterday. Really put the game out of reach for the Yankees. But they grind. They grind at bats. And for all the talk about the home runs and the RBIs and all this blustery brouhaha and all this craziness about home runs and the 3 true outcomes and launch angle and all this other bullshit that people that don't really know the game. Look at the Blue Jays. This is the baseball that wins. You know, it's funny when people want to talk about all these numbers and all these different things and all these geeks that have never, they can't tell you the difference between a 4-seam grip and a 2-seam grip. All those nerds out there that think they know the game better than you and they've never even stepped in the batter's box in their entire life other than a video game on MLB The Show. All those crazy numbers that help you in the regular season don't mean jack shit in the playoffs. Your sample size isn't big enough. What wins in the postseason will always win in the postseason. Good pitching, good defense, tough at-bats. That's the way it goes. You're sitting there relying on the deep ball. You're relying on the big swing and the 3-run home run. You're going to be sitting there watching the rest of the postseason like everybody else. Sorry, Charlie. But you look at the teams that are going to grind out at-bats. That's the most impressive thing about the Dodgers to me. It's not that they have accrued all this talent and they spend all this money. And no, it's because their best players that are the most talented guys on their team are also their hardest at-bats. They don't strike out. They put the ball in play. They'll foul off 5 pitches to get the one that they like. They'll take a walk. You look at Tommy Edman, who won the NLCS MVP last year. Look at that guy, right? He was the guy that rose to the occasion last year. You get that from Mookie Betts. You get that from Freddie Freeman. That's why it's going to be the Dodgers, regardless of what happened last night. To me, it's still going to be the Dodgers World Series to lose. Tough at-bats. That's the most important thing, man. So the Yankees going home miserably. Aaron Boone thinks he's going to be back next year. But the one crime when it comes to baseball, I think altogether, and we see this with the Rays and we see this with the Yankees, is the lack of development at the major league level. The lack of coaching, the lack of guys being able to take everything that they've worked on in their entire career and to be able to take their game to the next level, to be able to not just perform, but perform for a long time. When you watched the game last night, outside of Aaron Judge, you have Anthony Volpe, who came up through the Yankee system, who couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. You got Jason Dominguez, who got a single last night. It was his first at-bat since September 21st. You look at some of the pitchers that they haven't been able to develop. I mean, Cam Schlittler's done a good job, but it just seems like the longer they're in the system, the worse they get. We've been saying the same thing for a lot of years with the Rays. Everybody keeps telling me how great Josh Lowe is. Okay, let's see it. Everybody going into the season said, man, the Rays had the best starting staff in the AL East. Didn't see that with Taj Bradley. They traded him. Didn't see that with Shane Baz. Ryan Pepio pitched his ass off, but, I mean, you look at his RA, it's nothing to shake a stick at. The development at the major league level, it is the toughest. But if you can't get guys in a position to succeed, then I think you need to change. You need to change. You got to freshen it up. The same general manager with the Yankees, the same manager. You just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and think that the results are going to change. Like, that's just not the way it works. You need fresh ideas. You need guys to play the game the right way. And I think the attitude of Jazz Chisholm in that first game where he sat against the lefty, where Ahmed Rosario, a guy that hits 300 in his career, who had great numbers against Garrett Crochet, I thought that was a microcosm of the entire postseason. The only extra base hit was on a fastball that he sold out on and hit a home run. Lackadaisical defense, not paying attention, yawning in the field. Like, dude, I mean, okay, fine. But you know what your parents say, like, those aren't my Yankees. Like that you never saw that. Chuck Knobloch man, that guy's arm was so terrible. He hit Keith Olbermann's mom in the stands one year in the postseason. Like, what the hell? But Knobloch, man, he was dirty and he got down and he did whatever he could to, right? Like, it wasn't pretty all the time. It doesn't have to be pretty. Think about your favorite players in your lifetime. A lot of them have that Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose type of, man, you're going to get dirty. You're never going to go home with a clean uniform. I mean, those are the teams that survive. Ernie Clement sounds like a linesman that is going to be here at Benchmark International Arena tonight for the Lightning's home opener against Ottawa Senators. This is a guy that rolls out of bed with 3 hit days with the Toronto Blue Jays. The kid's incredible. What does he do? Plays good defense, puts the ball in play, hits line drives. I mean, those are the kind of things that just, they never get old. They never get old. But yet we fall into this malaise every year when it comes to Major League Baseball. And we fall in love with the home run and all these different things. But it always comes back to the fundamentals. Fundamental base running, fundamental defense, pitchers throwing strikes, keeping the ball in the yard. I mean, that recipe for success for baseball, it's been the same way for 100 years. It's going to be the same for the next 100 years. And while there's other teams out there that try and reinvent the wheel, at the end of the day, there's a great chance that they'll be home and they'll be watching the World Series just like you and me. Benny says, who remembers Bill Clement? Voice of ESPN hockey when I was a little kid. You got that right. Him and Gary Thorne. Yeah, that's the way it was at right there, man. On the video games as well. Bill Clement, Gary Thorne, and then you know who the guy was that was doing the between the benches or the other interviews. It was our pal Brian Engvall. You can hear on the call tonight for the game. All right, let's bring him in. First of our weekly hits with the OTC, Eddie Encina from the Tampa Bay Times. Make sure you guys subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times. Support local, man. Can't say that enough, and especially with everything going on with the Rays and the new ownership and the stadium and everything going on with the Buccaneers and the Bulls. Our whole crew over there at the Tampa Bay Times crushing it. Leading the way, the OTC, the original Oos, Ed Encina. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good on, buddy. I've got my pupperoo here taking a nap. So,
how's it going over there with the bars?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Chilling.
We're just chilling here, getting ready for a season opener. You know.
What does he think about the big guy, 6'9", fourth line?
He likes him. He's he thinks he's a potential keeper, but we'll have to see. Well, we'll know. We'll start knowing tonight. So that's for sure.
6'9". It sounds like a Lil Jon song. 6'9", playing fourth line. Left his car in Vegas, didn't have a dime. What a crazy story.
Did you just make that up?
Off the top of the dome, baby.
Wow.
Off the top of the dome. Carter Douglas. I mean, what the heck, man? I mean,
yeah.
A pretty wild story.
Curtis Douglas.
I keep calling him Carter. Curtis Douglas. I mean, just looking at him today, I mean, he was taller than me sitting down on the bench. I mean, this is a wild story, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a big boy. And, I think, as much as the Lightning do not really want to engage in some of the stuff that's gone on, with the Panthers, the past couple meetings, going back to the playoffs last year, I think the Lightning rather play hockey in a lot of these contexts. But I think the past week, it became very clear to them that, they weren't going to get much help from league office. So that they were going to have to kind of, get tougher, get one of those guys who will protect the stars. And that's not to say that like the Lightning aren't a tough team, that they don't have a bunch of guys who'll defend their teammates. But I think it's another thing to have guys who just by their presence on the ice, kind of invoke a certain level of, we got to, if you do something, you're going to pay. And I think Curtis Douglas does that. I think that, he comes in, obviously there's the size. I don't know if you've seen the fights that he's gotten into, but this guy has massive reach because he is 6'9". So you're not gonna land much stuff on him unless you're a big guy yourself. So and I guess at the end of the day, it is a little bit of a surprise to see him in the lineup tonight on opening night. He's going to make his NHL debut after being claimed up, put on waivers, on Sunday and claimed on Monday from Utah. But I think at the end of the day, it's all good and well to have a guy like that in the lineup, but he's got to also be able to do a lot of other things to help you win games. And I think tonight it's kind of a trial by fire in a lot of ways to see if he can be that guy. It's interesting because he's going to take a spot basically of Jack Finley, who, has worked all camp to earn a spot, to earn, the 12th, 13th, 14th forward spot. And he's going to sit because I think it's important for the Lightning right now to kind of, if they know what they have in Jack Finley from drafting him and developing him, I think now they've got to figure out what they have in Curtis Douglas. And, that starts tonight.
Surprised that Finley's the odd man out here?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, like I think they know what they've gotten him. I think they know what he's done. He's been healthy. He's done everything. I mean, he played 6 preseason games, so that's more than anyone else on the team. So they got to see everything they wanted to see from him. And also he's a guy who has been injury prone. So maybe you kind of ease him in a little bit into the lineup, see where he fits in best. But again, there are some things that Finley has shown that he's done that really helped his team. And, it goes from the fact that, he's shown he can play PK, obviously he's a physical presence, the net front. He's a guy who'll go in the corners, do all the little things, plays a tough game, but also I think one of the big things that won him a spot was being able to play in the PK and also being able to be a face-off guy, especially in the defensive and neutral zones, because that's something they're constantly trying to improve on. There were times in the season last year where they weren't great in the face-off circle and especially in their own end. And he's a guy who can do that both in 5-on-5, in the PK, and even on the penalty kill. He's a guy you can bring out there, take a face-off and shift off. So he does a lot of things that are good. And but again, I think right now, you've got to see what Curtis Douglas is made of, especially since he hasn't played in the NHL. And like I said, I don't think he's going to go out there and start running at guys. I think his goal is going to be to really kind of solidify that fourth line with him and Pontus Holmberg and Connor Geekie, and really kind of they want to, taking away from the Panthers, be one of those teams that can really just roll four lines. And I think that's there's a lot of things that go into that, but I think it's kind of seeing whether he fits into that kind of role.
Yeah, don't be surprised if he gets, a little hot and heavy tonight with Brady Tkachuk, because he's another one of those guys. Obviously, Matthew's brother, he has a little bit of a snarl to his game. So does Tim Stützle. So I don't think tonight's going to just be like, oh, nice, knick-knack, paddywhack. Everything's going to be all nice tonight. I think tonight's going to be hot and heavy right off the rip.
Yeah, sure.
What do you make of Connor Geekie, man? Because I'm a guy, I'm on record saying that I think ultimately his best spot is going to be on the first line with Point and Kucherov when all is said and done, just because I feel like his game is the closest to what we saw from Andre Palat, big physical game. He's got a great shot. Kucherov needs to play with a little bit more of a shooter. That's why him and Stamkos worked out so well. But you have a guy that's a little bit more physical, has got better legs. I think in the long run, Geekie makes sense on that line. We know Gensel's going to start there, but surprised at all that Geekie's this far down on the line and playing on that fourth line wing and not in the middle six.
A little bit. I do think that, to start the season, I honestly think he's best fits in a middle six role, maybe on that third line, and kind of see him work his way up. I mean, we saw that with Gage Gonsalves, to a certain degree. He was in the bottom six and kind of worked his way up, and now he's one of those guys who is kind of those guys where you can kind of put him in anywhere. And let's face it, what we see as these lines, today on October 9th are not going to be what we see in April, let alone in a couple of weeks, and that's one thing with Coop. He doesn't hesitate to in-game, shift to shift, change these things up. I do expect to see Connor up there, with that top line on occasion. I really liked what he did with the Hagel, Cirelli line too. Especially, in the kind of game, the matchup kind of game that they play, and kind of the puck hound game that they play. So I wouldn't look too much into him being sitting there right now today on the fourth line. I think that they have no doubt great plans for Connor Geekie. I think he's done in camp. He showed a lot in terms of, well, first off, I think he showed a lot when he came back from Syracuse last year. But I think he's shown a lot in camp this year in terms of really kind of knowing where he needed to improve. And that was, start off with his skating. He spent a lot of time with the Lightning skating coaches in Toronto in the off season and worked on that. And I think you saw that in that, second to last preseason game here at Benchmark International Arena. It's going to be a process.
It is. Trust me. I was ready this morning. I said, look on the ice. Who do you see? Morning skate at Benchmark International Arena. It doesn't have the same flow, man. Sorry, cult. I'm sorry. Sorry, cult of personality fans out there.
Yeah. So, that play that he made, kind of spinning Seth Jones around and scoring that goal. A lot of people, it was great in that form, but a lot of people might not think of everything that involves in that. And it all starts with, the skating and the confidence in the skating. And I think that we all know that Connor Geekie has the ability to be not just an NHL player, but a scoring NHL player who can score, 20, 30, maybe 40 goals a year, at his, ceiling. So I think, you want to kind of let him grow into that role. And I think there's no doubt that we've seen that confidence grow. We've seen that I think last year at the point that he got sent down, he had kind of lost a little bit of his confidence, and he had also kind of lost just kind of who he was. And he's a scorer, and so I don't think putting him on that fourth line necessarily changes that. I do think that, like he'll have the puck on his stick a lot. But at the same time, I think you'll see him in different roles because, he is one of them. When we think about the future and we think about these, some of the prospects that are coming up, and we have that core, right? That group of, 29 to, 33, if you count, not counting Hetty and McDonough, who've been around a while. But, I think front and center of that young group that they need to really develop and become dudes is Connor Geekie. So I think we'll see him in a lot of different roles over the course of the season.
And I thought it was very interesting, the whole thing with the Panthers and the Lightning and all the penalty minutes and, the difference between a beat writer and a columnist. And a lot of times, a beat writer is not injecting as much of his or her own opinion, but what you wrote was a little bit different, than what we normally see from a beat writer. And I loved it. And I know you catch, and I love you because you're one of my pals, but I think you're a talented writer, but it just seemed like it was the right time to take that angle. Right. And having this conversation with Eric yesterday and just some of the different people where it's like the league looked at this in a vacuum of one game. And it's weird because they didn't really look at the cause that turned into this effect. So what just and of course, everybody out there, subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times, tampabay.com/sports. Go check. I read the whole thing. It was great. But just your overall reaction to the discipline that was handed down, because, it's one thing to discipline the players, but to fine the organization and to fine John Cooper, like that's like, dude, you want people to police the game themselves. Shit like this is going to happen. So just your thoughts and why you ended up writing it the way that you did.
Yeah. So, I think there's, the way we cover sports now at the Times, I think, the traditional like beat writer kind of mentality has kind of evolved a little bit. I think that, in a lot of ways, we've had this discussion before, I think is that, if you want a game story and you want, a notebook, you can find that in a lot of different places. A lot of people are either, with TV the way it is, a lot of people are watching the game. They already,
right.
And I think that now one thing that I've tried to evolve a lot into my coverage is a little bit more analysis coming from knowing that, and this isn't like, I'm not trying to brag here or anything, but I'm with the team probably more than anyone,
Right.
and, we travel with the team, we're with them every playoffs, I don't think there's been since I've been on the beat, I don't think there's been a Lightning Panthers game that I've missed, and it's so, I've seen all of this develop over the years, all the playoff game series, all, over the past 5 years. So, I think that I can speak to some of this stuff, having seen it all, firsthand, and not just that, the access that we do get to players, coaches, front office people within the organization and within the league, to be honest, and like,
right.
I made some calls after that game on Saturday to try to figure out what some of those guys were thinking up there. And, I still kind of got off the phone a little miffed, because, again, I think the most interesting thing about it. So backing up here, obviously we can look back to, the back and forth of the playoff series last year,
right.
That started with Matthew Tkachuk going after Nikita Kucherov in game 1, carried over into the Hagel hit on Barkov in game 2, Tkachuk going after Jake Gensel in game 2, well, we can go, then the Ekblad hit, blah, 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 and everything that happened in game 4. And then we can go into, what happened Thursday night with AJ Greer hit on Hagel, which was completely unprovoked. Hagel is clearly going off the ice for a line change, and this guy just kind of sucker punches him. And in the context, what Sabrin did to Ekblad is really no different in that context.
No.
And I think the league's perspective on this was that the Lightning had no interest in playing hockey, that they were going to bring these guys up with a specific intent on payback. And that's, I don't think anyone can necessarily argue that to a certain degree. Now, having said that, the Lightning can also say, after what happened Thursday, and, now we've got to sit Brandon Hagel to make sure he's okay for the home opener a week later. Why would we play any of our great players? Why would we play them on Saturday? So right. we call up what I now call the Syracuse 6, and, which included Sabourin and Roman Schmidt, who, you know, with all respect to their games, are there for a reason. Everyone knew it, you know, and then it kind of all plays out the way it did. I mean, I went through a bevy of emotions watching that game live in Sunrise of like, this is completely stupid. Like like, this is what it's come to, you know, on both teams, you know, and I do think that the fine that went down on the Lightning and Cooper, I think the fine on Cooper has more to do with John Cooper is, you know, with the fact that
Right.
he is one of the more respected coaches in the league, that, you know, he is the longest tenured coach in the league. He's, you know, front and center on a lot of things.
Was it a you should know better kind of fine?
Being a voice, he's going to coach in the Olympics, Hockey Canada. That you should know better than this. They obviously know that there's nothing that goes on with the Tampa Bay Lightning that John Cooper doesn't have his you know, his arms wrapped around it. So I think that actually had a lot to do with it. Which, is that fair? Is that not fair? You know, we can argue about that all day. But at the end of the day, when they, it was very interesting that in their explanation of looking back at the history of incidents between these teams, it was only in reference to the Sabourin suspension, and it wasn't in reference to the fines that were handed down by the Hockey Ops department to the Lightning and Cooper. And I think that's where I don't get it. You know what I mean? I mean, the interpretation of the rules and the interpretation of time and place, and a lot of this stuff can be argued, you know, back and forth, the way you see it, stuff like that. Like, I thought the Verhaeghe hit on Zemgus Girgensons was worse than the Mosier hit on Jesper Boquist, but that one doesn't get anything. But at the end of the day, like, how can you rationalize it with any seriousness to this matter that the Lightning are completely to blame for all this, but yet the Panthers don't receive anything, you know, as a team, you know? And, you know, $100,000 fine that's a significant amount of change, but, you know, I don't think it's going to change the Lightning's bottom line in terms of, you know, the way they spend their success. You know, it's not going to change how many community hero, you know, donations they make in the regular season. So
that'd be great if that was the first two. Tonight inside of the community hero. Sorry guys, we need that $50,000 to pay for whatever the hell that was in Sunrise.
But I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't. If you're looking to kind of regulate this and what it's become, that didn't do it, you know. And you know, we all know hockey. This is a part of hockey to a certain extent, and you know, the players. You know, you give the players the opportunity to regulate the game, and then the league comes in after that when maybe things do get heated. So, but at the end of the day, to look at all of this, going back to last year, going back to beyond that, you know, I remember back in the day when, you know, Anthony Duclair was slashing Nikita Kucherov in the playoffs, you know, and then they end up becoming teammates. But there's no doubt that this is a great rivalry. I don't know if Thursday night and Saturday night necessarily made this a better rivalry for the right reasons. Because, you know, when I did talk to Brandon Hagel before all this, you know, I was doing just kind of sit down with him, you know, for our special section. And you know, one of the first questions I asked him was like, do you think this thing's going to carry over? And he was like, I don't want it to, because I'm more concerned about beating them. Like, at the end of the day, it's about beating these guys, you know, and yes, all of that is a part of it. But, you know, that he didn't see it carrying over. And then, you know, a few days later, you see, you know, AJ Greer, you know, basically just attack him, you know. But it's tough because I don't think the league, there's so many, you can point your finger at so many different places, and it's just, for the Lightning to be the only one that's under the microscope on this just doesn't seem right. And I think the league should be under the microscope for it as well as the Panthers, because they really haven't done enough to make it that way. But in terms of writing a story, I'll be honest, like, I wrote a lot of that based on emotion. I think that's one of the great things of being able to cover a game live where you're at, because, you know, as much as guys say it can be unfair when they have to talk to us, you know, 10 minutes after a game throughout the emotion of it. You know, I think for our perspective, when we're covering teams, sometimes it's great to be able to write with that perspective, you know, like, as again, I was muttering to myself watching this game. And part of it was because the officials had lost complete control of it, and no one knew you can look at the game summary, and it was completely just a mess. Like we were like amongst ourselves, we were trying to decide, okay, how many guys actually got ejected from this game? Because at that point they hadn't given Sabrin a match penalty on the sheet, and like all this stuff on the sheet. And like how much we talk all the time about how it's really hard for some of these on ice officials to get things right because it happens fast and everything like that. But this one was just I felt bad for them too, just because it was just a complete mess because guys were getting taken off and misconducts were getting handed off. It seemed like every minute, in that game. That, and at the end of the day, like, yes, that's not a hockey game. What we saw Saturday wasn't a hockey game, but at the end of the day, I think the Lightning felt that they kind of had to do it, right or wrong. But again, like, I just don't think that the league really helped in the sense of moving this thing forward, because it's gonna, it's gonna happen again.
It's not over. It's not over, Ed. And I just want to see if there's going to be beef between the Panthers writers and the Lightning writers. We'll see. Because I'm ready to throw down, baby. I'm about to do my best Scott Sabrin. About to watch out, George Richards. I love George, man. They have we get along so great with their media. There we go. In the house. All right, before I let you go, man, what's the ceiling for this team this year, the expectations? Because I look at, the dealing with injuries to Tkachuk and Barkov, and this team and some of the adjustments that they've made. Sky's the limit for the Lightning, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I think, obviously those injuries, set the Panthers back a little bit. And, at the end of the day, I think that, last year's team was a good team and it was a contender, and I think they've gotten better. I think they've even gotten better in the past couple of days by adding, Curtis Douglas. Right. I think, to me, the biggest question, to be honest, I think is something that we all haven't necessarily talked enough about is Andrei Vasilevskiy's health, because I think it all begins and starts with 88 back there. And, we saw how good he was last year when he felt good. We saw how much it was a struggle for him throughout the entire season 2 years ago when he had dealt with the surgery. And I think that, as much as he's a guy who works so hard in the off season, and that maybe, missing 9 days of training camp and only playing in one preseason game doesn't rule out all of this work that he did in the off season. I still have some concern in terms of until I see that. And I think that's why they're carrying 3 goaltenders right now. It'll be interesting to see how long they do it. I think when they no longer do it is when everyone in that organization is completely confident about Vasilevskiy. But take that out of it. I think that, this is a team that can contend for a cup again. I think that, there is a little bit more sense of urgency because they are older. They are, this window does kind of start to seem to be closing to a certain degree just on age of some of the players. Obviously Kucherov has 2 more years on his deal. Vasilevskiy has a couple more years 3 more years on his deal as they approach the mid 30s of their career. So like the time's now. And I think that this team's frustrated by the fact that they didn't get up out of the first round the past 3 years. I think they're going to, all this stuff that's happened the past week. And so I think all of that continues to put a chip on the shoulder of this team. And I think that's a good thing because not that they've been, not that they haven't had that or haven't had that extra momentum going in, but I think it can only help them, in terms of, knowing that this is kind of go time. And that what's happened the past 3 years, isn't good enough according to the bar that this team set.
You can call him Ed, Eduardo, or Eddie. I'm going to call him the OTC and the original Oos. Eddie Encina from the Tampa Bay Times. Again, guys, I can't stress to you enough. Support local Tampa Bay Times, all of our folks. I rattled it off before. Right now with the Rays new owners, the Buccaneers and the Bulls doing their thing, the stadium stuff, and, of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning opening their season tonight. Subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times. It may not mean much to you, but it means a lot to a whole hell of a lot of other people. Get somebody a subscription for their birthday or for Christmas or just something. Do something right. We always talk about supporting local here on the Jay Recher podcast, and I've got a subscription, and I put my money where my mouth is, baby, and I read everything from the Tampa Bay Times in the sports section with our folks, leading with our guy Eddie Encina. Ed, appreciate it, buddy. Eddie in the Yard on Twitter/X, and I'll see you tonight, Big Goose. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Rich.
See you, buddy. Good stuff. Eddie Encina, the man. All right, it's going to wrap it up for me. I got to go. They're looking at me funny outside here. They got to clean up this booth. They got to clean this suite out. They're just giving me that look. Get ready to roll here at Benchmark International Arena. Who's going to say Emily the most? It's going to be me Eric Erlinson, or Eddie Encina. I don't know, but we're going to say Amalie a whole heck of a lot, but we're going to stop saying that word. Benchmark International Arena, Benchmark International Arena, Benchmark International Arena. A big thank you to Eddie Encina for joining us. A big thank you to Dr. Rodriguez with the Evara Health Injury Report. Wow. He's very doubtful on Zion McCollum playing not just this week, but next week as well. Big thank you to Evara Health and Honest Hammer, our partners here on the J Recher podcast. Again, I'll be on with Tom Krasnicky, T. Kras, a little bit later on today on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. You can check me out there. Sticks and Stools this Saturday outside of the arena. Hopefully, we will see you there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Lightning home opener tonight. Cannot wait. I'll be in the building all day long. Cannot wait. And, of course, back tomorrow at noon from the home studios right here on the J Recher podcast. Everybody be well. I'm gone.